How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Ches, Daf 38 of Masechta Nedarim. Friends, I'm trying to keep it down a little bit because it's like in the morning. I usually don't record Babylon Talmud in the morning so much. It's 8:47 a.m. Sunday morning, and I usually don't record so much in the morning, just ever, but there's like a bunch going on today, so I want to get it out of the way early. Well, not get it out of the way, I mean, you know what I mean, but the chaparine early. But there's like, I don't know, people are still like in wake up mode around here, so I'm gonna try and not yell as much as I normally do. Let's go weiter. So we're gonna learn today Daf Lamed Ches, Daf 38, some interesting stuff, let me tell you. So let's jump in. Alright, fine. Okay. Lamed Ches, about 2, 4, 5 lines into the page. Amr b'chama b'bchanino. Friends, there's some great stuff on this stuff. What do you want me to tell you? Amr b'chama b'bchanino. Lohesh Moshe elam psolton shaluchis. Moshe Rabbeinu became wealthy from the scraps of the luchis. I guess when the Eibishter was, etching out the text of the luchis, whatever scraps there were, Moshe Rabbeinu got the chaparine. Shnema psal lecha, shnei luchos havanim k'rishonim psalton shelcha yehei. It says psal lecha, so it means that psalton shelcha yehei, that any scraps you can chaparan. Nice. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. Omer b'yosef b'bchanino, lo nitna Torah elo leMoshe lezaro. Friends, do you hear this? This is mind-blowing. It says Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina that the Torah was dafka given to Moses and his offspring, and to nobody else. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Ksov lecha, Psal lecha. It says in the pasuk, Ksov lecha, write for yourself, and Psal lecha. So mapsulton shelcha, av ksovon shelcha. Just like the scraps that was designated specifically for Moshe, so also the text itself, the Torah itself, was specifically for Moses and his family, and that's it. Moshe nog batovas ayin v'nosna unisanu Yisrael. But Moshe Rabbeinu was very gracious and giving and magnanimous, and he shared it with the rest of the Yidden. And about Moshe Rabbeinu, the pasuk says that a fellow with a good eye will be blessed. Masav of Chisda. Rav Chisda says, 1 second, something here doesn't sound right. What? That the Torah was given just to Moses? But the pasuk says that the Eibishter commanded me at that time to teach you, all the Yidden, not just me. And for the Gemara, well, the Eibishter commanded me alone, but then I, out of the goodness of my heart, commanded you. But what about the pasuk that says that I taught you all of these things that the Eibishter taught me? So, again, the Eibishter commanded me, and then I, out of the goodness of my heart, commanded you. What about the pasuk that says that you should write this song? So we say, well, specifically Ha'azinu, everybody is commanded to, but not the rest of the Torah. But what about the fact that the pasuk says that it should be that this song should be for you as witness to the Yidden? So meaning, what does that mean? It means that the Eibishter gave the entire Torah, and all the Yidden are expected to follow the Torah, and then Ha'azinu serves as witness that if you don't follow the entire Torah, you're going to be in big trouble. So we see that it's not just Ha'azinu. Ha'azinu is a sort of warning, so to speak, about following the entire Torah, which means that all the Yidden are commanded for the entire Torah. So Ela Pilpulta Ba'alma. So we say, no, take that all back. That very, very radical Havamina that we had to say that the Torah was only given to Moshe, not true. The Torah was given to all of the Yidden, but the sort of understanding of how to understand the Torah, so that was given to Moshe, and that Moshe shared with the rest of us. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Eina Kadosh Baruch Hu Masher Shchinaso Ela Al Gibur V'Asher V'Chacham V'Anu. that the Eibishter is Mashre Shechina. What does it mean? He I don't know, places his divine stuff on people who are mighty, wealthy, wise, and humble. And we learn all of these traits from Moses. Gibor, how do we know that he was mighty? The Pasuk says, that he spread out the tent on the tabernacle. Moshe Rabbeinu perso, that Moses himself spread out the tent on the tabernacle. And it says that each beam of the tabernacle was 10 amas tall, which means that in order for Moses to be able to spread out the tent over the tabernacle, he must have been at least 10 amas tall. And if a fellow is 10 amas tall, he must be 10 amas strong too. He must be very, very strong. To which the Gemara says, meh. The Gemara says that maybe he was very strong but weak. Rather from the following pasuk, that Moshe says that he chopped the two tablets, vashlichim, and I threw them from my hands, vashabrim, and I shattered them. So Vitanya luchis orkan shisha v'rochban shisha v'ovin shlosha, and it says that the luchis were 6 amas long and 6 amas wide and 3 amas thick, so very, very heavy. And nonetheless, Moses was able to carry them and throw them and break them. So he must have been very strong. Psalcha, Psalton, where am I? Osher, how do you know that Moses was wealthy? Psalcha, Psalton, Shelcha Yehei. As we learned that when it says Psalcha, it means that he could chaparan the scraps from the luchis, so that he became very wealthy. Chacham, how do you know that Moses was wise? That Rav and Shmuel both say that there are 50 gates of understanding in the world that were created in the world of Chulam Nitnu Moshe, and all of them were given to Moses, Chaser Achas, with the exception of one of them. So Moses received 49 out of 50 gates of understanding. So we see he was very wise. Shneimar, the Pasuk says, that I made him just a shtickle less than the Eibishter. Onov, how do you know that Moses was humble? That Moses was very humble. I keep on thinking of humility and thinking it's like humil. Dennis, is humil a thing? Humility is humble. So humble, humile. Alright. Amr Yochanan, it says Rabbi Yochanan, all of the prophets were wealthy. And how do we know this? From Moses, Samuel, Amos, and Jonah. Interesting. I guess Amos is the same in Hebrew and in English. Okay. Moshe dichsiv lochomer echad mehem nosasi. How do we know that Moses was wealthy? Because it says that lochomer echad mehem nosasi, that I didn't even take anybody's donkeys. Iblo agra lafukim ad shaka blo agra. What does that mean? If you're saying like if Moshe was sort of demonstrating how he didn't negatively impact anybody, and he says I didn't even steal a donkey from anybody. Just because you didn't steal a donkey, that doesn't make you particularly special. You're not supposed to be stealing donkeys. So it means he didn't even rent a donkey from anybody, because he didn't need to rent a donkey from anybody. He had so much that he didn't need to rely on anybody else for anything. But maybe it was takapunkt fakert. Maybe he was so poor that he didn't have anything, and therefore he didn't even need one donkey to carry his stuff, because he didn't have any stuff. So maybe Taka shows he was very poor. Rather, from the pasuk that we learned earlier, that it says by the luchis psalacha, it means that the sultan, that the sort of scraps went to Moses, and they were worth a pretty penny. Shmuel, how do you know that Samuel was wealthy? The pasuk says, "Hineni anuvi neged Hashem v'neged Mishicho." Answer me right? Opposite God and opposite His anointed one. Right? Did I take anybody's ox? Did I take anybody's donkey? And what if if Samuel is saying, I didn't even steal anybody's ox or donkey? I mean, you're not supposed to steal anybody's ox or donkey. It means that he didn't even rent it. He had no need to rent it because he had his own stuff. He was wealthy. Maybe it means he was very poor and he had nothing and there was no need to rent anything. Rather we learn from here, and it says that then he would return every year to Haramasa, to what? The Ramasa place? Is that like remote? That's where Samuel's buried, near there? I think so, Shmuel Navi. Alright. So, he would return there, Kishon Beso, that's where his house was. Rava says that wherever he went, he would have his house with him. I think it means wherever he went, he had places to stay, he had houses, he had stuff, I guess he had a bunch of houses. So I guess he's a wealthy fellow. Rava says, that what is said about Samuel is greater than what is said about Moses. That by Moses it says that I didn't rent anything from you. That's Kilu Moshe. Right? Moshe is saying I didn't, I never approached anybody to rent epis. That I think what it means is that by Samuel, even if sort of the people wanted to rent it to him, he still didn't rent it. The Chassidus of Azuk says, "Vayomer lo hashaktanu velo ratzu sanu v'gomer." Ratzu sanu, ratzu seinu. Oh, it's on the next page. Bear with me, ratzu sanu. Okay, so you didn't chap rein, and we didn't even want to chap to you a rein. Okay. Amos, how do you know Amos was wealthy? The Pasuk says, "Vayan Amos by Yomer Lamatzia," that Amos says to Amatzia, "Lo novia anochi v'lo benovia anochi." I'm not a prophet, nor am I the son of a prophet. Ki boker anochi v'oleis shikmim. That Mitargim of Yosef, and it's like Rav Yosef explains, "Ari marigite ono." I own a lot of cattle. V'shikmin li b'shvelt of v'gomer, and I have sycamore trees. So, meaning he was saying, I don't need anything from you. I have plenty of my own stuff. I got my own cattle. I got my own sycamore trees. I don't need stuff from you. Okay, so we see that Amos was wealthy. Yonah, how do you know that Jonah was wealthy? The Pasuk says, "Vayitin schar vayered bo," that Jonah paid when he went to run away from the Eibishter, and he took a boat out into the middle of the ocean, to the middle of the sea. So it says that he paid for the boat. Rabbi Yochanan said that he paid for the entire boat. Rabbi Romanus says that the value of the boat was 4,000 golden coins. I guess that's a whole bunch of golden coins, which means that Jonah was very wealthy. And what that means is that, meaning the sailors, the people sailing the boat, they would wait until the boat filled up. So I guess that there wasn't like a particular time it was leaving, right? It's not like, the boat was taken off at a certain time and however many tickets they sold. No, so it was taka, you would get there, right? It's like the minyanim at the kotel, right? You get there and all of a sudden they start trying to collect. And then you just wait around until everybody gets there and then they start. So, also the boat, right? You would come and say, "Hey, I'm going to such a," they would say, we're sailing to such and such a place. And you would say, "Okay, I'm interested." You would buy a ticket and then you would wait until more people, and they filled up the boat. Once the boat was filled, they left. So, Jonah was in a big rush. So he just said, "Look, I don't care. I'll pay for everybody's tickets. Let's get out of here." And that was 4,000 golden coins. So, Jonah had 4,000 golden coins. Memele, he was a wealthy fellow. Initially, Moses was learning Torah and he would forget it until it was given to him as a gift. That it was given to him when God finished speaking to him. Super interesting. And it sounds like as long as he didn't own it, he kept on forgetting it. But once it was his, once he received it as a gift, then he remembered it. That's super interesting stuff, I think. Alright. Friends, we're getting to a new Mishnah. V'zon es ishto ve'es bonov. That, okay. So now getting back to Nedarim. So you have a fellow, let's call him Reuven. And Reuven is not allowed to get any benefit from Shimon. Okay? So we say, nonetheless, Shimon can, v'zon es ishto, Shimon can pay for Reuven's wife's food, ve'es bonov, and his children. And even though Reuven is obligated to pay for his wife's food and his kids' food, nonetheless, Shimon can pay for it, and it's not considered like he's directly benefiting Reuven. Rather, it's considered like the benefit is coming sort of indirectly. And Shimon cannot pay to feed Reuven's animal, because by feeding the animal, right, he's not able to feed Reuven's animal, because by feeding Reuven's animal, he's making the animal more geschmack, and a more geschmack animal gets a better price. So bein tamei, bein tahora, whether it's a non-kosher animal, whether it's a kosher animal, Rabbi Eliezer Omer zon es hatmeya ve'eno zon es hatorah. Rabbi Eliezer says he can feed a non-kosher animal. Right? Shimon would be able to feed Reuven's non-kosher animal, but not his kosher animal. Amrlo ma bein tamei l'torah. They said to Rabbi Eliezer, what's the difference? Amrlo en shatahora nafshel l'shamayim v'gufa shelo. Because Rabbi Eliezer says that a kosher animal, so the animal's soul belongs to the Eibishter, but the body belongs to the fellow. He could eat it, he could sell it. V'tmeya, whereas a non-kosher animal, nafshe v'gufa l'shamayim, both the soul of the animal and the body of the animal belong to the Eibishter, i.e. there's nothing you can do with it. Amrullah, they said to Rabbi Eliezer, afa tmeya, even a non-kosher animal, nafshe l'shamayim v'gufa shelo, the soul belongs to the Eibishter, but the body belongs to the owner. Shem yirtze, harei mochel ovdei kochavim. If he wants, he could sell it to ovdei kochavim, or machil l'klovim, or he could feed it to the dogs. So therefore, even by a non-kosher animal, the Chacham say that Shimon would be unable to feed the non-kosher animal, because it'll make it more geschmack, and a more geschmack thing, a more geschmack animal, then Reuven has more things that it benefits Reuven, because then he could sell it to Ovdei Kochavim, or feed more of it to his dog. Says the Gemara, Omer Yitzchak bar Chananya, Omer Vuna Amudar Anoya, Mei Chavero, Mutal Asi Lo Bito. Oh, very, very nice. So you got Reuven. Reuven has a daughter. And you got Shimon. And there's some kind of situation between Reuven and Shimon, unable to get Hana. Let's see. So Amr Yitzchak bar Chananya, Amr Vuna. So I'm reading again. It says of Yitzchak bar Chananya, the name of Vuna. Hamudar Anoya mechaveru. So if you have Reuven, Shimon, it's unclear yet who's not allowed to get benefit from who. But you have Reuven and Shimon, and Reuven's got a daughter. Mutal asilo bito. So Shimon can marry Reuven's daughter. And now Reb Zera is trying to figure out now who in this scenario is not allowed to get benefit from who. If it's talking about where Shimon is unable to get benefit from Reuven, and remember it's Shimon who's going to be marrying Reuven's daughter, and Shimon is not allowed to get any benefit from Reuven, how can it then be that Shimon is marrying Reuven's daughter? Shimon's not allowed to get any benefit from Reuven. And if Reuven's marrying off his daughter to Shimon, he's getting a shifcha l'shamsho. He's getting somebody who's able to, maid servant to serve him. Certainly then he'd be getting benefit from Reuven. And that's not allowed. Elo, benichsei chosin, asurin al avikale. So rather, let's say punkt fakert. It's talking about where Reuven is not allowed to get any benefit from Shimon. Reuven's not allowed to get any benefit from Shimon, and we're saying that nonetheless Shimon can marry Reuven's daughter, even though by doing so, by Shimon marrying Reuven's daughter, he's now going to be married to her, and Shimon will be responsible for her mizonos and not Reuven anymore. So even though you can argue that that would be beneficial for Reuven, nonetheless Shimon's allowed to marry her. But fact the Gemara, 1 second, Gedolim mizo amu. But I have an even bigger chiddush. If you look at our Mishnah, what do we say? Zones ishto ve'ezbana v'afal pishu chay b'mzonoson. Our Mishnah says that if Reuven's not allowed to get any benefit from Shimon, Shimon can nonetheless feed his daughter, right? Pay for her food. And that's talking about when she's still living in her father's house, Shimon can pay for her food. And you're telling me that Shimon is allowed to marry Reuven's daughter? Obviously, he should be allowed to marry Reuven's daughter. He can even pay for her food when she's still in Reuven's house. Certainly then, if they get married and she's no longer in Reuven's house and she's now married to Shimon, he'd be able to, pay for her food, and we wouldn't consider that we're directly benefiting Reuven. After all, she's not even living in Reuven's house anymore. So, and for the Gemara, rather, really it is talking about where Shimon is not allowed to get any benefit from Reuven. If that's the case, then how come Shimon is allowed to marry Reuven's daughter? Isn't Reuven giving him shifcha l'shamsho, and now Shimon is getting benefit from Reuven? So, uvibito bogeres umidaito. Well, it's talking about where Reuven's daughter is an adult, and she's making her own decisions, and it has nothing to do with Reuven. She's deciding that she wants to marry Shimon. So that would be allowed. Also in advice like this, if somebody's not able to get a benefit from his friends, so in this case, if Shimon is not allowed to get a benefit from Reuven, nonetheless, so also la'asi lobito, exactly. So Shimon, if Shimon's not allowed to get if Shimon is not allowed to get benefit from Reuven, then Reuven cannot marry off his daughter to Shimon because you'd be shifcha l'shamsho. But avamasio bito bogeres umidaita. But if his daughter is a bogeres and she makes her own decisions, so then Shimon can marry Reuven's daughter. Omer B'Yakov says, B'Yakov Amader b'nov l'Talmud Torah. You hear this? If a fellow says that he's not going to get any benefit from his son because he doesn't want to distract his son, he wants his son to be entirely immersed in Torah study. So he says, I don't want to get any benefit from my son, and that way my son won't have to spend time doing things for me. He can focus on his studies. Nonetheless, the son is permitted to fill up some water for his father, or to light a candle for his father, small little things like that. Rabbi Yitzchak says he can even cook for him a small little fish. Wow. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, so if Reuven is not allowed to get any benefit from Shimon, Shimon can nonetheless give him to drink a cup of peace. That sounds nice. Mind you, Targimu kos shel besa ovel. So what is this cup of peace? So in Bavel, they say it's a reference to wine that a mourner would drink. But my Rava Amri kos shel besa merchotz, in Eretz Yisrael, they said that this cup of peace is a reference to a cup that they would drink. It's a drink that they would drink after going to the bathhouse. All right. So it said in the Mishnah that Shimon cannot feed Reuven's animals. Tanya Yoshua ish uza omer zon avodav v'shivchos v'knainim, that Shimon can feed Reuven's servants, avodim and shvachis that are Canaanite servants. But he cannot feed the animals whether they're tameos or tahoris. My time, how come? Avodav shivchos v'knainim leman charuso avidon be'em lefitumo avido. Well, there isn't really much that the owner, right, that this fellow who's got these avodim, that he can do with them. At least an animal, he can kill it and sell, can sell the meat, can sell, sell things. But the slaves, there's really not much to do with. So therefore he could feed them. But feeding the animals, they, if he feeds them, then they're going to get more valuable. And, even after he kills them, he could sell them and things like that. Friends, that was Daf Lamed Ches of Masechet Nedarim. Super interesting daf. We learned about Moshe and the Nevi'im and all sorts of things. And then we get into the situation with a fellow who is when the situation when you can't get benefit, nonetheless you could marry his daughter. So we said it's talking about where Shimon can't get married, can't get benefit from Reuven, but nonetheless Reuven can marry off his daughter who's a bogeres, who's an adult, and she just kind of makes up her own mind and does that. But it's not Shimon, it's not Reuven Davka benefiting Shimon by marrying off his daughter because she's older, she's an adult, she can make her own decisions. Friend, That was Daf Lamed Ches of Masechta Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.